getting started with the web overview, the structure of the web. The structure of the web. Yeah, we're getting started with the structure of the web overview, and the HTTP header. When we talk about the web, we are definitely talking about the HTTP. So we'll be talking about the cookies, the invention of the cookies, how they invented the cookies and stuff like that. So let me share my screen. All right. I believe my screen is up now. So there's actually a rooms and chat admin which clearly explain that. Let me just see the download. Download. So, VPN. All right. So let me just click on learn. No, this is not the room. Okay, I'm coming. That is not the room. Don't know. Should be something around here. Which actually talks about the web overview, HTTP in details stuff. All right. So we started with the web overview. So working an application like a web application, if you have a web application, like basically the program is actually dedicated towards web application hacking. Okay, no, not this again. So basically, so if you want to access the website, right? If you want to access any website, like I visit tryacme.com, if you can check above here, we have HTTPS, which I have this colon, then I have this forward slash room intro to web application security. So majority of us might be wondering that what does this mean? Although that is a URL, it's a web URL, which some of us might have been familiar with it. So, but for us to access all of this, if we actually go back to our networking part, we have what we called the application layer. So, first, this is the application layer now. this the web browser is actually the application layer that we are using to access the web. So for us to access it, if it is another communication, like let's just assume that if it is an email, we know that we need a browser for email address, but it is actually we need an application, also application layer for the browser. But sometimes we also need a mobile app or something like that. Like it's the application layer. It might be a browser. It might be an inbuilt application. It might be a segmented or a dedicated application for us to be able to access whatever we want to access over a network, because communicating over a network now. This has a channel that is routing through for us to be able to get everything. So if it is a web, because we are focusing on web, if it is web, when you access, let me just say, I say www.google.com. So there are many things that is happening here. I'm accessing Google, right? Which I already know that it is either on port 80 or port 443, and basically it will definitely be on port 443 because port 80 is not secure. It is like HTTP, so which stands port 80 stands for, okay, let me do that. This port 80 stands for HTTP. So we have port 443 stands for HTTPS. So if you're actually network, we are browsing over a network, and you find something like HTTP, just know that it is actually hosted on port 80. Then if you have something like HTTPS, it is actually hosted on port 443. So, and HTTP is actually not secure. It is not secure. Like it is not secure. Everything that you are seeing are not encrypted. Everything is not encrypted. It is exactly how you are sending the request. Exactly. So if an attacker actually intercept your request, they will be able to see your communication. Let's say, for example, I'm actually, let's just assume that I want to make a transaction now. You know, they will ask for our credit card. If you see any website that is actually hosted on port 80, which is HTTP, right? If it is port 80, which is HTTP, I will advise you, and it is even advisable for us not to impute any sensitive information on that particular website, because the website is not secured. Everything that you are sending, your credit card, your password are being saved in plain text. And what plain text actually means is plain text. What plain text actually means that it is the original message. So, but on port 443, everything is encrypted. So let's just assume that you input a password like a password like um okay, playboy Playboy 1234. This is the password. So when you are communicating on 443, even if an attacker actually intercepts the request, it won't be able to see your password like this. It will be seeing some unnecessary, like untranslated text, like something like this. Can you translate this? No, we can't. The attacker will be seeing something like this. So your password will be encrypted into something like this. Your password will be encrypted into something like this. So it actually means that it is encrypted. So it is advisable when you're browsing, if you see anything like port for 80, even your browser will actually tell you that there is no certificate, there is no SSL certificate for this website, and it is very harmful to you and your system. So it's either it's hosted on port 80 or 443, but it is advisable to be hosting it on 443 because of the encryption level. So let me access Google now. So happening in background when you actually access www.google.com. Like I said, this is the domain name of Google, which is DNS. DNS, basically hosted on port 53, right? DNS, domain name service. So if you're actually communicating over the network, like if you're communicating Google, if you want to access Google on your browser, so what Google understands is Google does not understand www.google. The server does not understand www.google.com, but the server understands the IP address. Like if I said I ping Google now, let me ping Google now. I said ping google.com. We can see an IP address, right? Let me close it. We can see an IP address. So this is the IP address that the server understand. The server does not understand google.com. But what makes it happen is because of they have domain name, which is DNS. Domain name service is actually running in background. So domain name server is the one that will now translate google.com into this IP address that we have here. It will now resolve it into this IP address of 216.58 216.58.233, then 223, and then 238, 223, then dot 238. The reason is that it is practically like it is invisible, or it will, each and every one of us, we find it difficult having this set of numbers crammed on our head. Like if I want to access Google, will I be cramming 2.216.58.223.283? So it is very, it will make us difficult. Like we won't be able to quickly recall that this is the IP address. That's why we now have this domain name server. So the domain name server will now resolve. They will give you will get a domain name which is actually unique to you. So every one of us can easily remember that, okay, this is www.google.com, www.facebook, Facebook. So like that. So if you access Google now, so the server does not understand google.com, but it is the domain name server that is actually translating the domain name back to the IP address. Then if you want to access it back to you, it will definitely resolve it back. So you can see now we're able to access it, and you can see that there is padlock here. If you click on the padlock, you can see that it shows that the connection is secure. And then it said verified by Google Trust Services LLL. So you are currently connected to this site and it is verified by Google. So if I click on try admin hold, if I click on this padlock, connection secure, so it is verified by Let's Encrypt. So Let's Encrypt is the SSL company that TrackMe is using. So that you can just Google them to know more about them. Okay, let's encrypt. You can see Let's Encrypt. It's a non-profit certificate authority run by internet security. So you can just go on and read more about them. So we have so many. We have many. So if, okay, this is Google. Okay, let me check for ChatGPT. So let's see for ChatGPT. Okay, let's share LNG. Okay, you check for ChatGPT. It is actually verified by Cloudflare. Cloudflare. They are using Cloudflare. So if you check this refshare.com, connection secure, they are also using Let's Encrypt. So we have different companies and organizations that offer the services of SSL. So what SSL is just more of like a secure encryption. So if you are communicating over the network, it will be encrypted. And if you check, let me use WhatsApp as an example. If you are chatting on WhatsApp, you get a notification that um, WhatsApp is an end-to-end encryption. So what is happening there is you see the text message that you are sending and the receiver is receiving. It is only you and the receiver that will be able to see that message. Anybody that won't be able to see the message. The only instance whereby they can actually see your messages It is when they have access to the device that you use to send the message. That is the only time they will be able to read the message. But when they intercept the request, they won't be able to read the message. The only thing they will be seeing is an encryption. So when they see all the encryption, they won't be able, they won't be able to decrypt it. Even your voice call, your voice chat, and everything will be encrypted. Even WhatsApp won't be able to see every of the all of that. So that is the functionality of the SSL. So let's move on. So they said a web application is like a program that we use without installation as long as we have modern standard browsers such as Firefox, Safari, or Chrome. So subsequently, instead of installing every program you need, you only need browser to relate to the related page. You don't need to browse the related page. The following example of web application such as um, Protomail, Outlook, and stuff like that. So what this actually means that you don't need to install once you have um, a web browser, either Safari, Chrome, and everything. You'll be able to once all of the you'll be able to have access to maybe your Protomail, your because the web application is the worldwide use. Like it's even in use more than the mobile application. So the web application is very it's very straightforward. So yeah, they said thousand more example. Okay, yeah. So the idea of web application is that it is running on a remote server, a server like a. So let's say, for example, everything that we are seeing here, the website Ultra Me, it is actually running on a dedicated remote server. What they mean by remote server is server that is somewhere else, that even the owner of the website does not know that this server does not know where the server is, but he can access the server remotely, and the server is keep running. So the server will keep running. It's just like you are having a computer that has standby electricity, standby internet. So if we have standby electricity, the system doesn't off and everything. So it is actually dedicated somewhere else, but they don't know. But we call where the server is data center or server warehouse. So the second application. So the web application will read the data about the product and their details for database server. A database is used to store information in an organized way. So if it is everything on the web application as a database, when we search for um trackme.com, if you see now, okay, let me click on learn. You can see that it took me to another page. It took me to another page. If I click on search, it will definitely took me to another page. You see all of these are database. They are database because it is actually stored in the server. So everything, if I search here, HTTP, so everything are database. Everything are what? Everything are database. Everything are database. So we have product database, we have customer database, we have sales database. And for like, let me just use Shark as an example. We have database for room, we have database for dashboard, they have database for dashboard, they have database for learn, they have database to complete, they have database for develop and others. So that's what database actually mean. So we can already see the amount of information stored in an online system. You can just go on and read all of this. It is very straightforward and understandable. So you can just go on and read all of this. So they said web application. Okay, okay. Let me just go to the HTTP in details. Like I said, if you are talking about web application, we are definitely talking about HTTP. And what does HTTP means? HTTP actually means What does HTTP means? HTTP actually means hypertext transfer protocol. So this is a protocol that we use to transfer, because if you want to access the web, if you don't have this protocol, all the CSS, JavaScript that wants to render, because all of these are just structure of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. They won't be able to render on the web, on your web browser. They won't be able to render because the protocol that they can use to render is not there. They can only render on the local system where they used to write the code. But if they want to make it public, that everybody wants to be they want to make everybody to be able to access their application, they need um the hypertext transfer protocol. So HTTP is what is used whenever you view a website today, and it is developed by Tim Berners and his team between 1989 to 1999. So that was the year they used to build, and then since then HTTP has been in use globally. And then they said HTTP is set of rules used for communicating with web server for transmitting of web page data. So whether it is HTML, images, video, you can see if, and a video is actually embedded here. You can see the video is actually embedded here. So images can also be embedded and so on. So what is HTTPS that I've actually explained before? They said HTTPS is hypertext transfer protocol secure. So HTTP is a secure version of HTTP. HTTPS is a secure version of HTTP, and then data is encrypted so that it only stop people from seeing the data you are receiving and sending. Just like the scenario of the Facebook that I gave to WhatsApp that I gave to you. So if an intruder actually intercepts your request, they won't be able to see it. But it also gives you assurance that you are talking to the correct web server and not something impersonating it. So it gives you that okay, you are communicating with someone and nobody is actually impersonating it, because it is what you are sending, the receiver is getting, and it is what you are receiving, the sender is actually sending. So what that means is, because of the secured part of it, if you are sending A, the attacker that intercepted the request will not be able to change the data that is being sent. So if you are sending A, the receiver will receive A, and that is what is making it very possible on you are sending a message. It is actually the message the receiver is receiving, and it is the message that the receiver is sending you are also getting. So that is for HTTP. So then the request and response. So yes, if you want to send you need to make a request. Like if you want to access the website, a web server or web application, you need to make a request. Then if you make a request, you will get a response from the server. So we as the user of the web application, we are making a request, and the role of the server of the web application is to give us response. So now we want to talk about the request and the response. So we are making request, and then the server is giving us response. So when you access a website, your browser will need to make quick request for the web server for access such as HTML, images, download, and response. Before that, you need to tell the browser specifically how and where to access these resources. This is where URLs will help. So for you to be able to make request and get a response for the server, you need a URL, which URL actually stands for Uniform Resource Locator. So they said if you have used the internet, and I believe majority of us on this call understand what uniform resource locator does and what it means. So a URL is a predominantly an instruction on how to access a resource on the internet. It's just like an instruction on how to access a what resources on the internet, either in HTML, images, or download the response. So the images actually below shows what a URL looks like. So this is a URL, HTTP. So this is called scheme here, but in some cases it can actually be called protocol. It is actually called scheme, but it is actually sometimes it can be called protocol. Then this is user dot user, this is the user at triacme.com. Then this is the host domain. This is the what? Host domain, triacme.com, which is DNS. Then the port, which is 80. Then the path. Okay, let me use this as okay, the path now. Then the query, because we normally have query equals to 1. Then so this is just like a structure of a URL. So we need to have, for a URL we need to have, we need to have the protocol, which is the scan. We might have the user, or sometimes we might not have the user. So we need to have the host domain, we need to have the port, we need to have the path, and then we need, sometimes we need to have the query. So the scheme now, it is actually explained in details below. So they said the scheme, this instructs on what protocol to use for accessing the resources such as HTTP, HTTP for file transfer protocol. Then user, some services require authentication to log in. So that is why I said that sometimes you might not be needing it. So in some services which actually needs you to log in, so it is actually, but nowadays they don't actually use it this way any longer. But we normally use this in an SSH or an FTP. But in HTTP or HTTPS, if you want to authenticate, we don't need to specify the user here. There is actually a form that will help you, that will get the query from you. So you can put the username and password into the URL to log in, but in some nowadays you just have a login page where you can actually put your username and password. Then the host, the domain name or the IP address of the server you wish to access. Then the port. So the ports are going to, you are going to connect to, usually 80 for HTTP and 443 for HTTPS. But this can be hosted on any other ports between. So aside that, if you want to host a website of port 80 or port 443, you might decided that okay, I don't want to use port 80, I don't want to use port 443. You might decided that okay, let me use another port. You know, I told you guys when we were doing networking that we have 65,535 ports numbers, from 1 to 65,535 port numbers. So you can decide to use any of these available ports to host your web application. Then the path, which is the file name or the location we are trying to access. Then the query string, the extra bit of information that can be sent to requested for a path. Let's say, for example, if it's a blog website, so a blog website will be using some kind of ID. Let me use this as an example. Stimsub.com // blog. You can see this is the domain, this is the protocol, this is the domain, then this is the path, this is the path. So if sorry, so this is the path. So from here I believe I can actually get a query. I should be able to get a query. Let me click on 2. Now you can see now that we get a query now when we requested for, because they have lot of blogs on this website. So you can see now that we get a query. So this is the query of offset. So if I decided to change this to 11 now, let's see if it will change. Offset 11, and you can see that it's actually changed. This changes to 3.0. So let me see now. So you are using query to access many information on the website. So if I see 5 now, let me show you 15. Okay, it's not changing. Maybe this, the ID is not there. Okay. Okay, let me click on each blog now. Although it depends on the website, Sha. I'm coming. I just want to get something. Maybe they implement the query function on this website. I'm not sure if they include the query function, but let me click on 2. You can see the query changed to 10 and the interface also changes. This is not what we saw before. So now let me change to 3 now. So it's actually um okay, 20 now. You can see now that it also changes. It's also changed. So let me change to 30. So let you can see now that here we have employee digital skills, transition the role of employers. So let me change this to the offset to 30, the query of the offset to 30. So let's scroll down. You can see that it actually changes. So they are actually increasing it with 10. So that is the function of the query, which, and this is the query. This is the query we are using to get the ID. So we are using offset to get the available resources on the website. And that is what is happening here. View room where ID is equals to 1. So let's try on track me also. Let me go to you can see now this is path. This is the path for activities. So let's click on search now. And you can see now that we have query. So this is the query. So they are using on the activities, they have query for tab, which is equals to search. You can see the search here, which equals to page equals to 1. Then free or order most and everything is equals to all, like all. So I can decided to change this to easy because I know they have it. So okay, type. If you click on this type now, they have CTF and walkthrough. So you can just change this to walk through. Then we have popular, okay, difficulty, we have all, we have easy. So you can just change this to difficulty to, let's just say easy. So let's just leave as this as most popular. Okay, let's change this to newest. Let's change this to newest. So let's change the type now. Okay, newest. So here now they say search and page. No. So now if I want us to keep track of this, we have introduction to cyber offensive security. So I've already changed everything now. So let me click enter. You see that the query will change. You can see now that the query actually changed because I said yeah, I choose newest. From here you can see that it shows new, it changes to newest. You can see now that easy, instead of me coming down here, you can change it from the URL with what, with the query. And the query they are using here is the tab. So if I go to practice, the query will actually change. Let's go to practice. And you can see now that in the practice, they are using tab as the query for activities. They are using tab for the queries for activities. And you can see the price and everything. So you can definitely come here and start changing the query. So if you click on learn also, you can see now that they have the query. But the query for learn is what? Is page this time around, not tab again. It is page. They are using page for the query for learn, but they are using tab for both practice and search. So that is the functionality of the query. So the query. So although the query also has some like it can be vulnerable, but we are still coming back, we are still coming to that. So we have said making a request. If you want to make a request, there are something that is going to happening. So it is possible to make a request to a web server with just one line get request. Like, okay, this is HTTP version 1.1. So with what the get. So this is the request method. This is the version of the HTTP. So version 1.1. This is the request method. So if you actually wants to get, if you actually wants make a request, we have five request method. We have the get, we have the post, we have the put, we have the delete, and then we have the order. We have the get, post, delete, put. We are going to get started. So the get request is actually used to get, like, okay, if you are like if you just want to get a page, or you want to navigate through all the pages on the website, we are using a get request. But if you are using a post request, is either you are uploading a file to the server, or you are downloading a file from the server, you are using a post request. Or you actually want to authenticate yourself, we are using a post request in that case. So in the case of uploading, downloading, or authentication, we are using post request. But we are using get request for us to get just normal information, just for it to render. But if you actually want to download, definitely you are going to use the post request. Then the put request is just for you to, okay, so this is just the example. So if you are actually making a request, if you are making a request, this is what the server will be seeing. So the server will know that, okay, this is the, you are making a guest request. So this is the host. So the host will be shown. Then your user agent, which your user agent is your browser and the version of your browser. So referrer, this is the referrer. Like the referrer is where we will have the what's it called, the protocol in details. So to break down each line of this, so the request is sending get request. So request the home page with, so the request of get is just telling you that, okay, I want to just get normal information on the website. Then the line two, tell the web server that we want to visit. So it will tell the web server that, okay, we want to visit the terracme.com. So in line 3, we tell you that, okay, tell the server that we are using Firefox version of 8.7, 87. So then line 4, which is so telling the browser that the web page that will refer to us is terracme.com. Then HTTP request always end with a blank line to the server that the request has finished. So the blank line shows that the request has finished. So then you will get um you will get a response from the server that, okay, this is the version. So if your request is successful, you will get 200 okay. So response. So for the request, we have method, which are post, get, put, delete, and order. Those are the five. So also we also have five types of response. We have 100, we have 200, we have 300, we have 400, and we have 500, and they have their own functionalities also. All of these also have their own functionalities. So you can see now, if you are sending a get request, or you are sending a post request, and it is successful, there is no error, you will get 200, which is okay. That it will be indicating that, yeah, your request is okay. Then it will now return the server name and the version of the server, which is nginx. Then it will tell you the date that you are accessing it. It will tell you the content type, okay, text, HTML. It will tell you the content length. Then it will now render the HTML content for you. So we can simply do that. Let me use call. We can use this call to get https dot, okay, try acme.com. So let's wait for a bit. So you can see now that we got a response. This is the response we got. It actually render, you can see, but it's actually rendering the what's it called? It's actually rendering the HTML for us. So we are not getting. I just want to show you something from above. I don't know if call will be able to tell us the server and everything, but I think Bob Suit will allow us. Okay, it doesn't tell us it doesn't show, but track me we definitely the Bob Suit will actually allow us. So if I say that, okay, let me use Bob Suit now. So Bob Suit is opening. Let's just wait for Bob Suit. So then the HTTP. Okay, this is the Bob Suit. But I'm still coming back to Bob Suit. I don't just want to. I will still explain what Bob Suit is. So let me just go to tryandme.com here. Yeah, I'm going to catch the request. So what Bob Suit actually does is Bob Suit is just more of like a proxy server that allow you to intercept any request. And then when you catch the request, you can actually modify the request and try to do some manipulation, then send it back to the server. Just like an intermediary, when you catch the request is not going to the server directly. So when you get the request, you can actually use Bob Suite to catch the request. So before you send it to the server, try to modify it, send it to the server, and see how the server will behave. So in Bob Suite, we have proxy, we have target, we have intruder, we have the repeater, we have the sequencer, decoder. So we have so many tabs, but my favorite and preferred tab is the proxy. So you need to specify that the interception should be on. Then when the interception is on, then you need to turn on your Foxy proxy for Bob. So once the interception is on, so if I do this, I should be able to see. Yes, advanced. So you can see now, I was able to get I was able to intercept the request. So if I intercept the request like this, to see, you can see now that, check here, you can see that it is get request. And then where we are getting is the dashboard. You can see the path that we wants to get. So if it is like a login, it will be definitely be post request. So I will intercept that now and see. Okay, so dashboard, host, then you can see the cookies that is being generated for us. You can see my user agent, which is the Mozilla, and it shows that I'm using Linux. You can see that it accepts text, HTML, XML, and then you can see the language, which is the English US. You can see the encoding. So if I send this to repeater now, I send this to repeater. So this, I'm now in the repeater. So if I send this request, I can actually modify this request. If I send this request now, I should be able to get response here. So you can see now that I got a response, which shows that the response shows that HTTP 200 OK. So if I actually try to modify this now, I didn't specify the path. Let me specify another path. Let me just say path. So if this part is not on the server, you see now that I will get an error. So let me just try to send a request now. Okay, it shows that I get, okay, I think path is available. So let me remove this now totally, and then let me resend. You can see now that it shows that bad request. It shows bad request because I removed the path totally. So if I decided to put this and not put all of that, you can see now that it shows that this path is not found, but path is available on their website. So path is available. So if I send path now, you can see that it shows okay, and this is the HTML format. So you can, if you click on render, you'll be able to see the interface of your request that you made. You'll be able to see the interface of the request that you made. So this is where Bob Suit actually comes in handy. You can use Bob Suit to just manipulate requests. Server. You can see now from here I was able to just manipulate some requests, and then I'll be able to send it to the server. So it's actually loading. So let me just go on. So let me just cancel my, turn off. All right. So cancel this. So that is for the request and the response. So you can see even on Bob Suite, you can see now that it is request and response. So this is the request you are making. This is the response you are getting. So from your browser too, this is what is happening on your browser too. This is actually what is happening on your browser. This is what is happening, but you are just seeing the interface. But in Bob Suite, you are not seeing the interface. You are just seeing some encoding stuff, and all of these are very, very useful. You can decided to manipulate the cookies, decided to do so many things, and then if you see the render, this is the render, this is the path. You can see it has rendered. So let me try to remove everything and send. So let's check the response. You can see found redirecting to dashboard. You see that it is, you can see 302, 302, like what 302, 302 is a status code. 302 is a status code, but we don't know the meaning yet. But it actually means that it is redirecting to what? You can see now that if you see anything that is 300, 300 to 399, it is actually redirecting. So now you can see now that found redirecting to dashboard. So if you provided an empty path, it will definitely redirect you to what? To the dashboard. So if I put this now, no, this is just an invalid path. So it is actually redirecting. So let me just cancel all the paths and send. You can see now that it shows that bad request. So if I said render now, it will render and then unable to render response. Let me resend. Unable to render response. So that is for the request and the response. So that is for the request and response. So the method now, the method of, so I said we have the get request. This is used for getting information from the web server. The post request. This is used for submitting data to the web server, potentially creating new record. Like if you are actually wants to create a login or you wants to register on the website. So we are using post request. Then we are using put request for submitting data to update the information. Like if you want to upload, we are using put request. So if you want to delete, you are using the delete. If you want to remove something from the information, like okay, you've already uploaded your CV and you want to deleted your CV, or like Facebook, when you've already uploaded your or status on Facebook or on WhatsApp, but you if you are deleting it, you are definitely using the delete request. So these are the HTTP method. These are the four HTTP method: the get, the post, the put and the request, and they are very straightforward. The get is used to get information, the post used to for creating new record, like login, registering. So put is just for you to upload images and stuff. Then delete is just for you to delete. Then we move to the status code. So like I said, status code starts from 100 to what? 500. Like it starts from 100 to 599. So you can see now that for 100 to 199, they are sent to tell the client the first part of their request has been accepted and they should continue the rest of their request. These codes are no longer very common. So you are likely not to be seeing this status code from 100 to 199 again. But from 200 to 299, this goes to write all tell that all the client request was successful. So if you check this initially, yeah, you can see 400. But let me actually get dash board. So let me send now. You can see now that we get status okay, and okay means success, right? So you can see now success. This status code that all the clients were successful. Then 300 to 399 is redirection. So used to redirect the client to another resource. This can be either to a different page or different website altogether. So if you want to like, okay, if you want to embed link in your website, we normally use 300 to 399 for redirection. Then from 400 to 499 is client error. Like you can see now that the moment I didn't specify any path here, I get 400 path request. You can see bad request that the request is not available, and this is what client error. So if the error is coming from your own browser, is either you don't have internet or you are making a bad request, the request that is not available on the website. Then the 500 to 599 is server error. So if you are getting 500 to 599, just know that it is not your browser, it is from the server. The server is one that is not responding to your request. So we have some common HTTP status code. So you can just go on and then read all of these common status code. Then now let's move down to header. So in every HTTP request header, we normally have the host. We've discussed about this when we are at the beginning of our lesson today. So we have the host, we have the user agent, we have the content range, we have the accepting encoding, then we have the response header also. We have the set cookie, we have the cache control, we have the content type, and then we have the content encoding. You can simply go on and just read all of this. It's something that are very straightforward that you will easily get. Then we have the cookies. Cookies is just used to maintain our access. So because when HTTP was created, it is a stateless protocol. That is, when you want to visit a website, you need to be logging every time. Okay, when you already log in to try me now, when you close your browser, you open your browser again, you log in. So because it is a stateless protocol, then they decided that okay, how can we be able to maintain users? Because this is get like more and adding another problem to it. Then um cookies. So cookies is just to maintain our access. So if you log in now, you'll be generated the a cookies will be generated for you. Then you can be using the cookies you can be reusing the cookies to log in as much the cookies has not expired. Because there are some websites they set some expiry date on their cookies. So when your cookies is expired, you won't be able to have access again. So you can just go on and read the cookies because time is against us, and I also have another class. So there's a request here for you to do also. Just make sure you finish this room, and this room actually explain everything about the web overview, which is HTTP in details. So for now, I'll share the link of this to the group. I'll share it to the group, so you make sure you go through it, and then yeah, pretty much. So that will be the end of our class today. So if you have any question,